So the agent has finished. It's created this Google sheet. It's scraped the information that we wanted. And now all that's left is to deploy the agent. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. The goal for today is to explain how to use Airtop to automate things on the web. Very simply and easily. Maybe you've tried N8N or Zapier and they were just a little too fiddly, a little too complicated, or you've used N8N or Zapier and you couldn't automate things on the web. Maybe there weren't APIs for the tools you want to use. So this is for that. So a little bit about me, growth marketer at Airtop. I've had pretty much every job, but I've been head of growth at a few tech companies. And for 3 years, recently I was a touring stand-up comedian, which turns out there's more marketing in that than being a marketer. I'm joined by Cesar Sanchez, who's an AI engineer. He builds some of the tools at Airtop, and later he'll be showing you a couple more technical things. So we're going to start with an intro, go through some use cases like what can you use Airtop for, what kind of things should you automate, show you how to get started with it, do a live demo of a simple automation to show how the platform works, and then we'll have a Q&A, and at the end I'll give you a code for a free month of Airtop, so stick around for that. What we're trying to do at Airtop is to democratize automation, because like I said, some of the platforms are quite difficult to use. Even though there's no coding, you sort of have to have a programmer's mindset. You know, there's logic trees, there's for loops sometimes. So we have built a tool where you can just type out what you want to automate, and then the AI builds the automation for you. And as it's building it, you can correct it, tweak it. No experience needed. You can automate any website. That's the key thing. For instance, Instagram, or if you have a portal at work or a hobby that you have to log into, the agents can log into those websites, save your credentials, and then do tasks on your behalf. The agents can run anytime. It's cloud browser based, so you can run multiple agents at once. It's not really connected to your computer. They can run when your computer's off. So if you've tried something like ChatGPT's Atlas, that's pretty tied to your computer. And you can also schedule the agents and trigger them from external tools. To use Airtop, you just chat with the AI. It'll do some background research to figure out how to build your automation. It'll ask any clarifying questions. It'll ask for any credentials it needs, and it asks for permission before it does anything. So don't worry about it going off and doing unexpected stuff, because it'll ask. And all the automation code is tested. And once it's tested the code, then you can deploy your agent. And after you deploy it is when you schedule the agent. So when you're building the agent, you don't have to tell it when to run, because that comes later. So what to automate? Repetitive browser work, anything you do on the internet that is tedious, basically, and kind of rote, like maybe you're collecting information from various sources. We have a customer who uses Airtop to check for new listings on car websites, because that's something that he had to do manually, and now we just as an agent do it, and it sends him a notification on Slack when a new listing happens. Airtop isn't really the platform for automating something once. So if you want to automate like a DoorDash delivery, that's more something for another service. This is for stuff that you do every day, every week, every month, or stuff that you need to scale. Yeah, so Airtop does stuff that other tools can't, mostly because of the web browsing component. It can interact and log into websites. And there are a bunch of templates on our template page to get started with. So we have 65 templates. So if you scroll through here, maybe you'll get inspired for what to automate if you don't already have a use case in mind. So the first use case we'll briefly talk about is a LinkedIn lead generator. So this automation, basically, you give it a list of companies, like maybe your competitors or companies that are close to what your company does. It monitors their LinkedIn activity, their posts, and it sees who comments on those posts, and then it pulls leads based on that. And you can also set it up to find conversations about certain topics, and this is a way of generating warm leads because somebody's already interested in that topic or has an intent to buy. Instagram profile scraper. So this is an automation that Cesar built, where you just plug in a bunch of Instagram usernames into a spreadsheet, and then it will pull their public information, the follower count, any links. And this is for people who work in social media who have to do this all the time. And this way, all you have to do is enter in the name, and then it scrapes everything for you. And it sends you a Slack notification once something's been scraped. We have a customer who's run this automation just hundreds of times because it's something they have to do for work. Customer support analysis. So this is an automation where if you have either in your portal or in Slack, for instance, it can check the previous Slack messages. So you can run it every week. It looks at all the recent messages from customers, and then it finds commonalities in what they're requesting or what they're complaining about, and it identifies patterns and basically sums it all up for you. Because most companies, they get hundreds of those kinds of customer messages, and I found that most companies, it's too tedious to look through them all. So this basically does the work for you. HubSpot automation, this is a big one. If you work in sales, we have an integration with HubSpot. So basically, an example automation would be every 2 hours, it could look for new leads, new user signups, and then research the company that the lead works for. And if the company has over a certain number of employees, then it will send a Slack notification letting you know that that's potentially a hot lead. And at Airtop, we've actually used that to work on some pretty big deals that we would have missed because it's in a sea of user signups. You can also use it to fill out web forms. This is a big one. For instance, real estate applications, the tedious stuff that's really annoying to do. You just tell it what to fill. You can give it a list of websites or one website, and then it'll do all the fill outs for you. Competitor research, similar to LinkedIn one, you can either check competitors' websites, check news articles, have it do a web search. You can check LinkedIn just to see what your competitors are up to, and then it'll send you a digest to Slack or to email. So we have integrations. This is the API component. So you can connect with Slack to get notifications. We have LinkedIn and web search as always on, so you don't have to be logged in to LinkedIn for it to be able to search LinkedIn info. It can send emails on your behalf. It can create Google Documents. It can create calendar invites, and it can manage your Airtable and HubSpot. For LinkedIn, the public integration doesn't require a login. We can only see public info, but you can give Airtop your LinkedIn login information, and then it will be able to see whatever you can see, basically. And it can post on your behalf. It can like stuff for you. It can comment for you. And you can also tell it what your voice is like. If you gave it your personal website or a writing sample, it would sort of absorb your writing style, and it could make comments on your behalf. Be careful a little bit with that, though, because you don't want to be writing hundreds of comments on LinkedIn. You want to be pretty targeted with it. Yeah, so the big thing with Airtop is you can log into website portals, which is a lot of other platforms cannot do. So when you're building an agent, you can either give it your credentials, or you can just click inside the browser window in the login page and enter your stuff, and then it will save those credentials, and every time the agent runs, it'll have access and be able to log in because the session is saved. So the fastest way to get started is with these templates. So the templates, they're not just ready-made prompts. Basically, these are automations that have already been built and tested. So you can build an agent from a template in 5 to 10 minutes just by adapting it to your needs, changing it in ways that you need to change it. And these also cost fewer credits to run because most of the work has already been done. So we would strongly suggest starting with a template if a template is available. But if a template is not available, you can start from scratch. So if you just go to our website, you can just enter in here, build an automation that researches my competitors. You could even start as simple as that, and you'll build it out from there. And then you deploy it, and then you schedule. So when you're writing a prompt, start simple, be concise, just explain it like you'd explain to a technical friend who knows how to actually build automations. You don't have to give it any technical info on how to do stuff. Just something like log into my account at this place, search for new leads from the last 2 hours, research the sales leads, company size, send me a Slack message if the sales lead is from a company with more than 50 people, And then when you're working with the agent, you can tweak it and refine it and build it out from there. Working with the agent builder, it's like talking to ChatGPT. It understands what you're saying. If it doesn't understand, it'll ask. You will need to grant permissions. So at first, it'll ask for permissions for all your integrations. That doesn't mean it's going to use them. It's just we want to make sure that's granted before it starts. And you can interrupt your agent whenever you want. So even if it's like busy, you can just say, hey, I think you're doing the wrong thing. Can we do this instead? And you can enable notifications so that you'll get a little boop every time it needs information from you. And that way you don't have to babysit it the whole time. It'll do the most of the work for you and just ask you a few questions. Building a really complicated agent can take, 30 minutes, maybe up to an hour if it's super complicated. But that's mostly it building the code and testing the code. You won't really have to be doing much while it's working. To run your agent, you can schedule it. So you can schedule it every day, every hour, every week. You can also run it manually within the agent portal. You can also use webhooks if you're familiar with webhooks. I wouldn't suggest that if you've not used webhooks because it's a bit of a more advanced feature. But if you get help from somebody technical, then or you're very ambitious, then it's very doable. And you can also analyze your runs. So here, the past runs, you just click on any one of these. You can see what the agent does every step of the way. And this helps if the agent isn't doing exactly what you want. You can look and see what it is doing, and you can figure out how to fix it. And to fix it, you just go back into the agent, talk to it, and tell it what needs fixing, and it'll do it for you. So if you want to do more complicated scheduling, you can use Cron expressions. And that sounds fancy, but it's pretty simple. Basically, if you want an automation to run every Monday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. instead of every day or every 3 hours, then just ask ChatGPT what the cron expression is for that. It'll spit out some numbers and symbols. You paste those in here in the scheduling field, and then it will run at exactly those specific times. And that can be about as complicated as you want it to be. If you needed to scrape certain information at certain times, they're really specific, you can do that. Webhooks. So what a webhook is so when an event happens on an external website, if your webhook endpoint is embedded in that external tool, then let's say you have a Google form. Every time somebody fills out that form, Google Forms sends a payload to Airtop, and that triggers the automation to run, and it sends the information from the Google form to Airtop. So if you wanted to create a monitoring system for your inbound forms that looked at every new inbound and then qualified the leads and researched the lead, then you could send that to Airtop, and then Airtop would send you a Slack notification if the lead is especially useful, as an example. But you could do tons of stuff with webhooks. And make.com is perhaps a simpler way to use webhooks. And Cesar will talk about that in a minute. To run manually, you just go to your agent portal, and then you click this run button here. You enter in the parameters. So the parameters, basically, when you're building an agent, the agent builder knows what kinds of things you need to input to run it. So for the Instagram scraper, if it needs an Instagram handle to run, because that's what it's researching, then you can change that field in this. And you can also change things like the Slack channel it sends to. You can change the spreadsheet, things of that nature. Now I'm going to hand it off to Cesar to talk briefly about make.com integration, which is a more advanced feature. So Cesar, take it away.
Thank you, Jordan. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to quickly share my screen, my browser. And I would like to show you a simple agent that I built for tracking stock changes. One of the cool features that I like about our Airtop agents is that you can actually inspect previous executions. So for example, if we want to take a look at what this agent did in the last execution, we can just open the latest one, and we have a recording of what the agent does. So essentially, the agent just loads Google Finance and extracts the top 5 changes in the stocks at the top. So the output of this automation is a simple JSON payload with stock name, price change, and blah blah blah. So that will be the output of this automation. Now, what I want to show you guys is how you can do something useful with the output of this agent. And right now we have an integration with make.com, so you can actually trigger an agent from make and grab the output and do something. So I put together this quick short scenario that fetches or receives the stock changes and generates an image using a AI model based on that information. So I'm gonna run this animation really quickly. And yeah, so this agent is super quick. It takes around a minute to run the whole animation. And as Jordan was telling you before, you can actually inspect how many credits the agent used for this animation. So if you guys are concerned about credit consumption, well, you can take a look at this, and it takes like 14 or 15 credits each time I run it. Okay, now it has finished the execution. We can inspect the output here. We see the indices. We see Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ. So don't worry about the models in the middle. Those are really just for processing the output and making the request to the model. The last one is a Google Drive module for uploading the generated image. And it generates the image in Google Drive. I'm going to show you what it did. So this is the result. We can verify that the output matches with the with what the agent returned. We have a nice NASDAQ index here.
NASDAQ.
Yeah, but well, maybe this is funny, but you can imagine how you can use the information that your agent gathers or the actions that it triggers and do something with that. Maybe it's generate image or maybe create a post or something like that. But the magic is that you can integrate it with hundreds of other services from Make and other tools. And N8N is also supported for this kind of integrations. Yeah.
Thanks, Cesar. We've got a couple questions. Someone's asking, can you integrate multiple automations? Can you modify templates? Yes. How do you deal with Captcha? And can you automate PitchBook where they may check IP address and validate via text code?
So yeah, that's a interesting question and a very good one. So there are many websites that implement anti-bot measures to stop using or preventing usage from automations or agents. We have an integrated proxy that you can turn on in your agent. So every time your agent runs, it will connect to an AP from, I don't know, United States, Germany, or any country you can select from the dropdown. And that will give you, that will make your browsing session more authentic for many, many websites that check, because many websites verify IP addresses and they verify if they are residential IP. So with this feature, you can, pass that verification. Now, I want to be realistic and honest. So there are a few websites that are very serious on automations and bot detection. So you might find some troubles working with these websites, trying to authenticate or persist your credentials because they implement many checks. So it's all low percentage that I've seen in my experience, but yeah, it's something to consider. The the nice thing that you can, with the free plan, you can test it. You can make a quick short agent and tell it to go to this website, log in, and validate that if it works.
And how do we handle two-factor? Because when I've used it, basically when you log in the first time, you'll get a two-factor request. But do you know, Cesar, how it handles it if something needs 2FA every time?
Yeah, in that case, you can. We have some human in the loop implementations for your agent that every time it logins, it can send you, for example, a Slack message or an email address requesting for that code. You, for example, can reply to that email, and the agent can proceed later with the automation. Now, this is a advanced feature, and we use. So I want to clarify that Airtop does support this, but not with the agent, with the current state with the agent. We do it through our API, which is another. It's more technical and advanced, but we will be happy to help any customer that requires this implementation.
Yeah, if you're trying an agent and you're running into issues, feel free to reach out to me, Jordan at airtop.ai, and I'll send a follow-up email with that information as well. But yeah, many things are possible, but it's pretty new technology. So the way to know is to try it out. Okay, quick live demo. We've got a few minutes left, and this shouldn't take long. So just going to show you what it's like to work with the agent builder. This is a template. So we're going to try the agent. This basically lets the agent builder know, like, hey, here's all this code that's already built. You grant permission, and then it'll just ask me what it needs to ask me to customize it to my needs. Like if I need to create a new Google sheet, or if I need to change it in any way, then that happens just in this chat window. So here, it's just asking me, what do we want to test with? We'll test with Taylor Swift. Now let's test with NKBHD. And then Slack channel, Airtop to debug. That's where it sends the notification. And 3, create a new Google Sheet. And now this is the agent browser window. So it's going to Instagram, where I'll need to log in. Save info. And now that login info will be saved for future runs. And for this profile, this is like a demo profile. I don't have 2FA turned on. But when I've run it previously, typically the 2FA only needs to be done once, but it varies. Oh, yeah. And let it know that I'm logged in. Now it's testing the automation. We'll just say, yep, that all looks good. Now it's going to that profile, scraping the information, and it's going to create the Google Sheet, which only has to do once, and then plug in all the info. I will say right now we're pretty focused on making the automation code rock solid so that things work well and reliably and securely. I'm sure at some point we'll have stuff like image creation down the line. Anything else, Cesar, that we're cooking up?
Oh, well, we are dedicating efforts in making the integration with Anyden and Make better, seamless. So that's something coming next week. Of course, we are improving our interactions, the way that the agent clicks and improving accuracy on the clicks, the typing, the data extracted. So yeah, that's something else that is coming.
So the agent has finished. It's created this Google sheet. It scraped the information that we wanted. And yep, that worked. And now all that's left is to deploy the agent. And you can schedule it here. This doesn't really need scheduling, but you can do it now or later. And now the agent is built. And if you want to run it manually, you just click this run. But you can also, I think with this one, you just update the sheet with names you want to look at and then schedule it to run like every week or something. And then it'll check for new names. It won't look up old names and it'll just do the work that it needs to do. Yeah, so success there. Any more questions? Oh, yeah, a few. Wasn't clear. Can I run multiple automations within Airtop? Get data from multiple websites?
Yeah, you can have multiple agents running simultaneously and schedule multiple agents. It's attached with the subscription you have. For the free plan, I think you can run only one agent, but with the starter and professional, you can run multiple agents. Yes.
I think you could also have an agent that knows it needs to check multiple websites and then just takes data from each one and puts it in a spreadsheet. That could be one agent if it's a very similar type of automation for each website. But if you're trying to get different information from different websites, then you'd want to make multiple agents to do that. Can it be automated to do recruitment sourcing of candidates? Depends on what you mean. You can definitely have it look through LinkedIn to find people that fit your criteria. You could probably even automate it to send LinkedIn messages, but you could also, here's what you could do. You could have it search LinkedIn for people that fit your criteria and then have it research those people to find their emails. And then you could have the agent send an email to the people it found, right? Or you could have it send a Slack message with a list of those people, and then you select, then you could choose which ones to send emails to. You could have a human in the loop thing. But yeah, depending on how you're doing it, it can definitely help with that. Can have the output delivered anywhere other than Google Sheets? Of course. Yeah. It can make Google Docs. It can send emails, Slack messages. It could also do fancier stuff, like if you wanted it to log into something and update the information that it found, like a portal that you have to log into, it can do that. That's a bit of a heavier automation, but that's definitely possible. Yeah, most things on the internet that you can do, barring some websites with really strict, multi-factor authentication or like extreme bot detection, most things that you can do, it's able to do. Can I have it find a company and research it via ChatGPT? Yes, but you don't need to involve ChatGPT. So you could just you could make a sheet, a Google sheet with a list of companies, or it can make the sheet for you. Like you could have a Google sheet with a list of companies that you want to research, and then the fields you want to research. So company size, the CEO, recent news articles, and then you could run it and it would research all that and fill out the Google sheet. Definitely. That's, I'd say, an easy use case.
I think it's worth to mention also that the agent has the ability to do web search. Mm-hmm. So if you don't need anything else fancy like a deep research, but you need to gather information about a company, something that will come up with a simple Google search, the agent can do it.
Mm-hmm. And that you brought up ChatGPT, this is more of a diabolical use case, but there was one person who had the idea to just go to the public ChatGPT portal, ask like what the top companies in their industry are, and then when it doesn't say their company, say, oh, but I think my company, the company name, should be in this list. And it ran that a bunch of times, and that's like answer engine optimization, but automated. But that's a weirder one.
Can I mention something about the security?
Yeah.
Since we work with many customers, this is a recurring question about if we are compliant and how we treat information, because of course you are dealing with your credentials and private information. And Airtop is HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 compliant as well. We work with enterprise customers, so we implement very strict securities on that.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. So any questions or you run into any problems, just let me know. Or if you'd like to learn something different when we do the next webinar, yeah, feel free to reach out. And reach out to Cesar too. He knows more than me, but he's very busy.
Always happy to help.
Yeah. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks so much and have a great day.